In 2025, the motorcycle market is more crowded than ever with flashy new models, tempting used deals and classics popping up everywhere. But let's be honest, not everything with two wheels deserves your money. Some of these bikes are brand new disappointments fresh off the showroom floor, while others are aging disasters still floating around in the used market. What they all have in common: riders regret buying them. From outdated engineering to uncomfortable design, poor reliability to sky-high maintenance costs, these motorcycles look good on paper until you actually ride them. Whether they're falling apart with just a few miles or dragging reputations down after decades of letdowns, these are the 10 worst motorcycles to avoid in 2025, no matter how shiny, cheap, or collectible they seem. You're watching Retro Rides Garage, where we don't just celebrate the legends, we expose the flops too. If you're into bikes with real stories, honest takes, and a love for machines that matter, hit that subscribe button and ride with us. Now let's dive into the bikes that 2025 wants to sell you, but you definitely don't want to buy. Number 10. The Piat scooter from the 1950s is widely regarded as one of the worst motorcycles ever built, and for good reason. Designed in Belgium and later manufactured in the UK, the Piat aimed to capitalize on the post-war scooter boom, but failed spectacularly on nearly every front. It featured a wheezy 125 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine that barely mustered 4 horsepower, leading to sluggish acceleration and an embarrassing top speed of around 45 miles per hour. Reliability was a joke on us. Frequently reported oil leaks, stalling, and electrical gremlins that made everyday use a nightmare. The scooter's pressed steel frame looked clunky, lacked any design flair, and offered minimal structural integrity, leading to poor handling and a rattly, uncomfortable ride. Ergonomics were equally atrocious, with an awkward seating position and cramped controls that felt like an afterthought. Worse still, parts availability was terrible even in its heyday, making maintenance a scavenger hunt. The Piat was not just bad, it was a cautionary tale in how not to build a scooter. So unless you're a glutton for punishment or a collector of mechanical disasters, there's absolutely no reason to ever buy one. Would you really want a scooter that's famous only for how terrible it is? Number 9. The 2025 BMW R80 is a textbook case of style over substance, a heavyweight cruiser that tries to tap into American nostalgia, but ends up feeling like a clumsy imitation. At nearly 900 pounds, it is absurdly heavy for what it offers, making low-speed handling a chore and parking a workout. Its massive 1,802 cubic centimeter boxer engine looks impressive, but delivers only modest performance, producing around 91 horsepower and 116 pound-feet of torque numbers that sound decent until you realize how sluggish and unrefined it feels at speed. Vibrations creep in despite the modern engineering, and the ride quality is more punishing than plush, with limited suspension travel and an overly stiff setup. Ergonomics are compromised by a stretched riding position and awkward mid-controls that don't suit long hauls, especially when compared to rivals that balance comfort and power more effectively. Despite its premium price, tech integration feels outdated, with a tiny display and limited customization compared to what's standard on Harley or Indian models. The R18 is less a bold cruiser and more a confused throwback too bulky too impractical and too expensive to justify. So ask yourself, are you paying for engineering excellence or just an oversized ego trip on two wheels? Number 8. The 2025 Pagio MP3 500 tries to sell itself as a futuristic, stable, and smart alternative to traditional scooters and motorcycles, but ends up being a frustrating, over-engineered compromise that pleases no one. Its signature dual front-wheel design is marketed as a safety feature, but in practice, it adds unnecessary weight, complexity, and maintenance headaches without truly improving rider confidence or cornering ability. At over 600 pounds, this so-called scooter feels bloated and sluggish, with its 500 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine straining to deliver 44 horsepower through a dull, continuously variable transmission. Acceleration is flat, and overtaking on highways becomes an anxious chore rather than a confident maneuver. The ride quality is disappointingly harsh due to its stiff suspension, and handling feels vague despite all that front-end tech. Storage space is compromised by the MP3's awkward layout, and its bulky profile makes city navigation more challenging than on smaller, lighter scooters. Add to that a premium price tag, frequent servicing demands, and limited aftermarket support, and you're left with a scooter that tries to be revolutionary but ends up being impractical, overpriced, and joyless. So unless your priority is standing out for the wrong reasons, why choose a machine that sacrifices simplicity, speed, and soul just to add a second front wheel? Number 7. The 2023 Norton V4 SV looks like a superbike masterpiece on the surface, but underneath the carbon fiber and heritage branding lies a deeply flawed machine that simply does not justify its eye-watering price tag. Born from a company that has struggled with financial instability and quality control scandals, the V4 SV inherits all the wrong traits: questionable reliability, inconsistent build quality, and a lack of real-world refinement. Its 1,200 cubic centimeter V4 engine promises performance but fails to match the precision and reliability of rivals like Ducati or Aprilia, delivering jerky throttle response, excessive heat, and a riding experience that feels half-baked rather than polished. Electronics are basic and outdated, missing the sophistication and tuning flexibility expected from a modern superbike. Even the fit and finish, which should be a point of pride at this premium level, show signs of rushed assembly and uneven panel gaps. Suspension tuning is stiff and unforgiving, making the bike punishing on real roads and overly nervous on track days. Add to this Norton's shaky part support and lingering concerns over long-term ownership, and the V4 SV becomes a risky indulgence rather than a serious contender. So ask yourself, are you buying performance or just paying a fortune for a name still struggling to rebuild its legacy? Number 6. The pre-1991 Harley-Davidson Sportster 883 might carry vintage charm, but under the surface, it's a raw, outdated machine plagued with mechanical headaches and compromised performance that make it a tough sell even for die-hard enthusiasts. Powered by an 883 cubic centimeter iron head engine, it delivers modest horsepower with all the refinement of a cement mixer. Vibrations are relentless. Cold starts are notoriously difficult, and oil leaks are practically a standard feature. The 4-speed transmission is clunky and imprecise, often making shifting feel more like guesswork than a controlled operation. Handling is poor thanks to a stiff suspension and limited ground clearance, while the brakes are underwhelming by any standard, giving riders more anxiety than confidence. Comfort was clearly an afterthought, with a cramped riding position and minimal padding on the seat that turned short rides into endurance tests. Electrical gremlins, weak charging systems, and outdated carburation mean maintenance is constant, not occasional. Even as a collector's piece, the early Sportster 883 is a reminder of an era when Harley-Davidson was struggling to keep up with Japanese competition in both reliability and engineering. Unless you enjoy wrenching more than riding, why buy into a bike that's more stubborn than stylish and more headache than heritage? Number 5. The 1975 Suzuki RF is one of the most ambitious failures in motorcycle history. A rotary-powered oddball that promised innovation but delivered disappointment at nearly every turn. At its core is a 500 cubic centimeter Wonko rotary engine which sounds exciting until you experience its sluggish throttle response, excessive heat, and confusing maintenance requirements that left even seasoned mechanics scratching their heads. Despite producing around 62 horsepower, the bike feels underpowered and unrefined, with a narrow power band and a noticeable lack of torque where you need it most. Fuel efficiency is terrible, oil consumption is high, and the unique engine layout creates more complexity than benefit. The bike is also heavy, tipping the scales over 500 pounds, making it awkward to maneuver and sluggish in corners. Styling is a mixed bag, featuring a bizarre cylindrical instrument cluster and bodywork designed by Giorgio Giugiaro that now looks more awkward than futuristic. Worse yet, parts availability today is nearly non-existent, and finding someone qualified to work on a rotary motorcycle is like hunting unicorns. The RE5 stands as a fascinating but deeply flawed experiment, a collector's curiosity at best, a rider's nightmare at worst. So why gamble on rotary novelty when smoother, faster, and more reliable classics are everywhere? Number 4. The 1997 BimodaVU is the textbook definition of a brilliant idea executed disastrously. A two-stroke, fuel-injected sport bike that should have been revolutionary, but instead became one of motorcycling's most infamous failures. At the heart of the problem is its 500 cubic centimeter V-twin engine with direct fuel injection, a system so plagued with glitches that the bike barely ran properly off the showroom floor. Throttle response was unpredictable, seizures were common, and the fueling was so erratic that riders often found themselves lurching through corners instead of carving them. Bimoda, a boutique brand with limited resources, simply could not sort out the technology in time, leading to massive recalls and eventually pulling the bike from the market entirely. Even beyond the disastrous engine, the VDU suffered from poor build quality, cheap switchgear, and reliability issues that were inexcusable at its premium price point. While the chassis and styling were undeniably sleek, they were overshadowed by the constant threat of mechanical failure. Owning one today means endless tuning, sourcing rare parts, and hoping the engine doesn't grenade itself mid-ride. For all its promise, the VDU is less a forgotten gem and more a cautionary tale. So why risk your wallet and sanity on a bike famous for how badly it failed? Number 3. The Arc Vector 2022-2024 is a flashy, over-engineered electric motorcycle that promises innovation but delivers more frustration than function. With a price tag over $100,000, it offers underwhelming real-world range, awkward hub-center steering, and tech gimmicks like a haptic jacket and HUD helmet that feel more like distractions than breakthroughs. Charging is slow, support is scarce, and build quality has been inconsistent. While it looks futuristic, riding one feels disconnected and unnatural, lacking the thrill or reliability you'd expect at this price point. Why pay supercar money for a bike that behaves like an unfinished prototype? Number 2. The 2025 Harley-Davidson Livewire 1 tries to position itself as the future of motorcycling, but it ends up being an overpriced, underwhelming experiment that misses the mark for both electric and traditional riders. With a price hovering around $20,000, it offers less range, slower charging, and fewer features than rivals from Zero or Energica. Its claimed range of 146 miles drops dramatically with spirited riding or highway use. And Level 1. Charging from a wall outlet takes nearly 12 hours, hardly practical for anyone looking beyond a short urban commute. Despite brisk acceleration from the electric motor, the thrill fades quickly thanks to limited top-end performance and a ride feel that lacks the visceral character Harley riders expect. The styling feels caught between two identities, trying to appeal to tech-forward newcomers while awkwardly wearing the Harley badge. Worse still, Dealer support and charging infrastructure remain inconsistent, and the brand's shifting strategy leaves buyers wondering if long-term support will disappear as quickly as Harley's confidence in its own electric division. The Livewire. One feels like a rushed compromise, too bland for Harley purists and too flawed for EV enthusiasts. So why settle for a confused identity when better electric options are already here and more are on the way? Number 1. The 2025 Harley-Davidson Paname 1250 Special is Harley's ambitious leap into the adventure segment, but it stumbles hard in trying to compete with established giants like BMW and KTM, while the Revolution Max V-twin engine delivers a respectable 150 horsepower. The delivery feels inconsistent, with jerky low-speed throttle response and a buzzy mid-range that undermines long-distance comfort. Its adaptive ride height system is clever in theory, but prone to glitches, adding unnecessary complexity to a bike meant for rugged, go-anywhere use. At over 560 pounds wet, it's far from nimble off-road, and the top-heavy feel makes slow maneuvers and technical trails more nerve-wracking than exciting. The build quality feels rushed in places, with questionable durability of switchgear and inconsistent panel fitment, especially concerning on a bike meant to handle the world's toughest terrain. Despite a competitive price, you're still left with a machine that lacks the refinement, long-term reliability, and global support network of its more proven rivals. Harley deserves credit for trying, but the Paname feels like an adventure bike built by a brand still learning what adventure riding truly demands. So ask yourself, do you want to explore the unknown or gamble on a bike still figuring itself out?